The name Julius Caesar evokes themes of bravery, modesty, dictatorship, and betrayal. The world remembers him for his show of audacity and ambition, resulting in numerous military successes that laid the foundations for the Roman Empire. But what if I told you that beyond all that bravado and valiance was a man who, like any of us, had the odd taste for the absurd and weird? From crying bitterly because of peer pressure to having epileptic seizures, I'll uncover them all. So hold your breath, it's gonna be a fantastic ride. We kick off with the Caesar section conundrum. For many years, people believed that the Caesarian section was named after the most famous of the Caesars, Julius Caesar. The reason? He was thought to be the first person to have been born through the medical procedure. Hence, they found it fit to name the intervention after him. Though that makes a nice background story, it couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, the Caesarian section was long in practice before Julius Caesar was even born. It was only used when the mother had passed during childbirth and the baby was in grave danger. Sadly, the mothers hardly survived the procedure, as the Romans lacked the equipment to keep them alive. Curiously, Caesar's mother, Aurelia, lived long after he was born, which meant that he couldn't have been born through the procedure. However, it is possible one of Julius Caesar's ancestors was born through that medical intervention, hence the name, but I cannot say for sure, so perhaps we shouldn't speculate. However, what I am certain about is Caesar's sorrowful, bitter tears that he shed in Spain. And no, this wasn't a toddler Caesar throwing tantrums because his mother wouldn't give him his favorite toy, or a teenage Caesar whose first love shattered his heart to pieces. No, this was a full-grown, over 30-year-old Caesar serving as a public official in Spain. And the reason for the tears? Well, let's just say that he realized he hadn't achieved even a fraction of what Alexander the Great had attained at his age. Talk about peer pressure. You see, while serving in Spain, Caesar came across the bust of Alexander the Great, and out of the blue, our hero had an epiphany that brought him to tears. However, that didn't cripple him, as he allowed that moment to spur him on to attain greater heights. If Alexander the Great could do it, then so could he. So he got up and dried his tears and vowed to turn his life around. And he did it in spectacular fashion. He became the first Roman official to be deified, which means to be given the honor, status, and reverence worthy of a god. His subjects worshipped and adored him while he was alive, and held games in his honor. His praises were sung in the city square and at the marketplace. Stories were told of his exploits, and his statues decorated the entire Republic of Rome. And when he took his last breath, his successor and adoptive son, Octavian, elevated him to divine status. He was given the title Divus, meaning divine, and placed in the Roman Pantheon, a building decorated to all the Roman gods. However, before all the successes in deification, Caesar had a moment that can be best described as audacious, and worse, weird. On one of his numerous sea trips to Asia Minor, our hero and his ships were captured by pirates. The pirates demanded 20 talents of silver, which should roughly translate to $600,000 in today's currency, but this angered Julius Caesar. He swore at his captors that the ransom was too small and ordered them to increase it to 50 talents. His audacious move left the pirates with mixed feelings. At one point, they were surprised, then excited, then suspicious, then angry, and then afraid, because none of their captors had voluntarily increased their own ransoms. On the contrary, they were used to captives and their relations begging for a reduction of the ransom. So, who was this guy, they thought to themselves. But little did they know that it was just the beginning. The worst was yet to come. At night, the young Julius Caesar ordered the pirates to keep their voices low because he wanted to sleep. And during the day, he entertained them with his poem and oratory skills. He even participated in the pirates' games and excelled. All this while, he threatened the pirates that once he was freed, he would return and crucify each of them. The pirates didn't know what to make of his threats. Should they take them seriously or treat them as rumblings of a wannabe warrior? Well, they didn't have to wait long to find out. True to his words, Caesar carried out his threats of eliminating the pirates, but the manner in which he did it remains debatable. The most interesting is from the Greek author Paulinus, who narrates that Caesar invited the pirates to his home, threw a huge banquet, and feasted with them. At the height of the party, while the pirates were still in their spirits, Caesar laced their drinks with sleeping pills. And while the pirates snored in their sleep, Caesar slit their throats. Needless to say, the pirates never woke up from their slumber. However, the Greek historian Plutarch had quite a different version, which was a bit more on the gory side. According to him, Caesar returned with 80 ships and vanquished the pirates. He rounded them up and presented them before the governor of Asia, Marcus Junius Juncus, who decided to sell them into slavery. But before the governor could process the necessary documents, Caesar seized the pirates and crucified them as he had previously threatened. Acts like these gave Caesar a bad name among his enemies. They spread the news of his cruelty and painted him as a savage in the eyes of the world. But in reality, our hero was far from that. He literally had a heart of gold, and his people loved him for it. Unlike many of today's leaders who make huge promises to alleviate poverty and do little to nothing about it, Julius Caesar took big practical steps to ease the plight of his people. He introduced reforms and policies that reduced debts and unemployment. He also proposed laws that redistributed lands to the poor and sent some to work in the Roman colonies overseas. He granted several foreigners Roman citizenship so they could enjoy all the perks and privileges that came with being a citizen. And he initiated several construction works that not only provided jobs for his people, but lifted the image of Rome in the eyes of her peers. But none of these is comparable to the ultimate gesture that proved his love, willing all his money and estate to the people of ancient Rome. He divided his wealth among the Roman populace, allocating a portion of his own money, not state funds, to every individual. What a man! No wonder the people loved him. And if you love this video, please give us a thumbs up and a like, and consider subscribing to our channel for more exciting videos on the weird history of some of our most popular historical figures. Now, back to our hero. Like all humans, Julius Caesar had his weaknesses. Not moral weaknesses, though he was a Casanova, but physical ones. Julius Caesar had a history of severe illnesses. Though our hero never mentioned any of his ailments in his extensive writings, historians such as Plutarch and Appian have extensive records of them. They claim that Caesar suffered from epilepsy, headaches, weaknesses in the limbs, dizziness, and bouts of depression. In fact, some reported that his ailments were so serious that he had to retire from battles and campaigns. But sadly, none of these sicknesses overpowered him. Instead, his own people, the people he trusted, conspired to eliminate him. Among them was his once best friend and confidant, Marcus Brutus. Some sources indicate that Brutus could be the son of Julius Caesar, as his mother, Servilia, was one of Caesar's numerous lovers. However, Caesar was 15 years older than Brutus, making it improbable, but not impossible, to father Brutus. According to his murderers, Caesar was becoming a bit too ambitious and was gradually turning himself into a king. They claimed that he had disrespected the Senate by refusing to stand up and greet them. The Senate had officially gone to bestow a large group of honors on Caesar, but he joked that there were too many and he asked the Senate to reduce the accolades. Contrast this with some leaders whose titles and accolades would fill a room, and you'll understand the modesty of Caesar. Even when some Romans called him king, Caesar rejected the idea by saying, "I am not king, I am Caesar." Yet somehow, his murderers interpreted his actions to mean he wanted to be king, and thus must be eliminated. It's true when they say a mouse can never be innocent in a courtroom of cats. Such was Caesar's fate. So, on the Ides of March 44 BC, our hero was murdered in cold blood at the hands of over 60 conspirators. Each of them drove a dagger into him, but the one blow that many people believed killed him was the one from his once best pal Brutus, at which point, according to Shakespeare, Caesar cried, "And you too, Brutus." On this solemn note, we end today's weird history of Julius Caesar. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more interesting historical videos. Meanwhile, we have an exciting video that details the weird, wonderful history of Cleopatra. So be sure to check it out, and I'll see you there. Until next time, thanks ever so much for watching.